I'm up early and I have one big project all weekend. We have a single car garage since the day we bought the house, and I had to figure out how to get every single thing, tools, benches, anything I needed to have a shop to work in at the same time as being able to keep a car in this garage all the time. And it's been a nightmare, but this weekend I'm tearing it all apart, figuring out what I have, and just have to get the whole thing organized, or every time I go to work there's something I can't find. Soon after we moved in, Carol came home with a box that was just as wide as this table, and this workbench was in it. This was critical right from the start because this workbench folds down flat against the wall. And I can just move the car in and out and put it back up anytime I need a surface to work on. And plus it had the backboard splash with the holes in it for me to hang things on. So this was the critical way for me to get started, to have some space in this garage to work on. The other thing was just to have a simple picnic table with fold-up legs that I could push up against the right-hand wall and still be opposite the workbench. Slowly over time, as I needed tools, I just started to buy them for the house. Always start with the skill saw, drill. I needed this flat vibrational sander and a heat gun to strip paint, a jigsaw, the vise, and just recently I had to get the belt sander because I had to do the deck. So I just slowly built up some power equipment. Good stuff, but not top of the line expensive. Because I was immediately interested in making frames for my paintings, I needed a compound miter saw, table saw. So that was a smart buy for me. I made a lot of things with this. To make the frames look nicer, I wanted to buy a router. But instead of just getting a router, I found a great deal on a router table, a small router table. This mounts underneath here, aimed up, and able to run pieces large enough, you know, for the frames and stuff, with the guard to protect me. And I found a great deal on this. I made a lot of frames with this and the compound miter saw, and it was so valuable to me that I invested in good router bits, and this was the first thing I was anxious to go dig out of the shelves and find out how it was working. Unfortunately, this is I can't explain why this doesn't work. I think it's worth me bringing it in, but I plugged it in and it just will not go on. So I think I'm going to bring it in to see if there's somebody who can find out, because this is a great plunge router to use by hand. And when it's mounted in this, it's terrific. So this was very disappointing to me that this thing didn't work. I was really anxious to try this again. It's a great set of router bits. It's every shape you want. This I have no explanation for. I must have saw a great deal on an arc welder because I don't know how to weld, and I used this once. I might have even bought it because one of our kitchen chairs, a metal rung on it broke off. That may have been the reason I bought it, and I did use it and weld the chair, but I haven't had a reason to use it since. But there's no purpose to get rid of something like this. It wouldn't sell for much, and God knows I could end up having to use it now that I'm starting to organize everything. We'll see. I finally could find these tools. I literally did not know I had these. I'm glad I found the second cheaper drill, because that allows me to just drill and then use my other drill to drive in screws. The 90 squares. This is to bring in 2 pieces of wood for a frame, join them together to glue it and hold it. Coping saw, hacksaw, the band clamp. This is the way I made a lot of the frames, clamping them. The level, the bits. I have cabinets. I've always had the cabinets to store different things I need, because I had to make this as efficient as possible and still be able to get the car in here. It's another cabinet. So that's been the goal. Is to be able to put all this stuff away and drive the car in. But there's always one big shocker, pleasant surprise. Whenever I need to just grind something small, I always reach for my Dremel. It's small, it's easy, it's very quick, and I put it away quickly. It cannot router with these bits, and it certainly cannot drive cutters, metal cutters, sanders. One of these is like a masonry it can't drive these big tool heads. Some of these can go on drills and stuff. Some of them need a very specific tool to be able to grasp onto this attachment. So I was looking at these and wondering, why the hell do I even have these things? And then in the crawl space, I find this. It is amazing. Not only is this a much, much, much more powerful tool with handles for attaching onto it. This attaches onto it. And this can hold all these grinding plates, sanders, grinders. It can also use these, whoops, I got one of them, 2 on here. It can also use cutters. This is a masonry cutter, this particular blade. And when this thing is spinning on this, with the handles and control, it's going in the right direction. Instead of a saw where you're trying to, a drill where you're trying to put this thing on and you're cutting like this, it's cutting in the right direction all the time, down on the metal, and grinding in the right direction. So now I realize I have a circular sander and cutter, but this is pretty amazing. It's got a plunge router. It's got exactly what this other thing had without the table. And it just goes in. You can see the springs, the stops, the measurements, and the coolest thing, which I have used, is the wand. This is just fun. when it's hooked up to this thing, to just be doing fine detailed work, fine grinding, buffing, sanding, cutting. Obviously this takes a lot of different heads and cutters and stuff. And this was really a shock to me. I'm telling you, to find this thing, because I know altogether all these tools allow me a lot. Oh, look at this. This is a circle cutter. Just pin the thing, turn it, put the router in, router it around, and the piece drops out. Wow. I'm like kind of anxious to use some of this stuff. So, gonna see what projects we need done. I know Carol needs a garden workbench, and with all the stuff I have, that should be really, really easy. Now the only important thing is, can I get all of this, the lawnmower, the ladder, everything, completely against these walls or on these shelves so that the car drives in? I was looking at these boxes that I screwed up on this thing, onto this back panel, and I couldn't remember where the hell I got them. So my trivia question for today is, do you recognize these and where they come from? I have to be able to put this away myself for this all to work, and I can. "20 minutes later, car's able to come into the garage. Next step will be getting it all out of here and resurfacing this floor. Everything is on the shelves, and nothing has to be moved to see it. I can see everything at a glance, which makes it much easier for me, not searching around for tools. The lawnmower is out of the way of the door. This is better off sitting here than on a shelf. One, because it doesn't fit on most of the shelves. Two, because it breaks my back to get it off. But also because I can easily cut pieces of wood, easy cuts right here, without taking out any tables. Garden tools, everything else is secure. The foldable table is put away. 20-foot pole, the limb cutter. Also able to get all my shop vac, the seed spreader, fertilizer spreader, and for winter tires on rims, inflated. So that's really good. When it comes to the winter, they just flip on one set of tires, you know, for the other. And of course, the bench is folded back. So no problem driving the car in here.